What if I told you there's a single ingredient, one you can buy for less than $1 a day, that when added to your morning coffee, does 3 things simultaneously that most people over 60 believe are impossible? It reactivates the stem cells your body stopped producing years ago. It cuts off the fuel supply that cancer cells depend on to multiply. And it burns visceral fat, the dangerous kind packed around your organs, faster than almost any dietary change ever studied in clinical trials. And here's the part that should make you angry. This research has been sitting in peer-reviewed medical journals for years. Real studies, real institutions. Harvard, the Salk Institute, Boston College, published in Nature, Cell Metabolism, and the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. But your doctor has probably never mentioned it, not because it's a secret. Because this science is only now reaching medical training programs while millions of seniors keep losing muscle, gaining belly fat, and feeding cancer cells with every breakfast they eat. I'm about to change that for you right now. Stay with me because what I reveal at the end of this video, the exact protocol, the precise dose, the timing that makes it work, could be the single most important change you make to your morning routine for the rest of your life. But first, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your body after 60. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you'll never look at your morning coffee the same way again. I'm Dr. Laura, and I've spent over 25 years in clinical practice focused on metabolic health, cellular regeneration, and cancer prevention in adults over 50. I've watched hundreds of patients walk into my office exhausted, frustrated, carrying weight around their midsection that won't budge no matter what they try. They tell me they eat less. They tell me they exercise. They tell me they follow every piece of advice their doctor gave them, and they're still getting worse. Their energy is disappearing, their muscles are shrinking, their belly is growing, and nobody can explain why. I used to feel helpless watching this happen, until I started digging into the research on how certain dietary fats interact with aging biology. What I found completely changed how I practice medicine, and today, I'm going to share everything with you. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening inside your cells right now, because this is the foundation that makes everything else make sense. After 60, 3 biological disasters are accelerating inside your body simultaneously. Most doctors know about one of them. Almost none of them know about all 3. And here's what's truly terrifying. These 3 processes feed each other. Each one makes the other 2 worse. It's a downward spiral, and it speeds up with every decade after 50. The first disaster is called mitochondrial senescence. Your mitochondria are the tiny power plants inside every single cell. When you were 25 years old, a single muscle cell contained roughly 2,000 mitochondria, all running at full capacity. You had energy to burn. Recovery was fast. Life felt effortless. But studies measuring mitochondrial density directly from muscle biopsies show that by age 65, you've lost 40 to 50% of those power plants. Half your cellular generators are gone. The ones left are sputtering, inefficient, struggling. That's why everything feels harder. That's why you're exhausted after activities that used to feel like nothing. That's why your recovery from a simple cold takes weeks instead of days. The second disaster is stem cell depletion, and this is the one nobody talks about. Your stem cells are your body's repair crew. Every time a muscle fiber tears, an artery wall gets inflamed, a section of gut lining wears down, stem cells rush to the site and rebuild healthy tissue. At 30, your body maintained an army of these repair cells: mesenchymal stem cells, hematopoietic stem cells, tissue-specific progenitor cells. They kept every organ in a constant state of renewal. But multiple studies measuring circulating stem cell populations in human blood show a devastating decline of 60 to 70% by age 65. Your repair crew is running at 30% capacity. Wounds heal slower. Arteries repair less effectively. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. When stem cell depletion coincides with DNA damage, and that's inevitable after decades of oxidative stress, there are fewer healthy cells available to replace damaged ones before those damaged cells accumulate the mutations that become cancer. The third disaster is metabolic dysregulation. After 50, your cells become progressively less sensitive to insulin. The enzymes that break down stored fat become sluggish. Your body's ability to burn fat for fuel diminishes. And instead, glucose becomes the dominant fuel source for almost every cell. Now here's why that matters more than you think. Cancer cells have a fundamental metabolic addiction to glucose. They consume it at a rate 10 to 50 times higher than normal cells. When your entire metabolism shifts toward glucose dependency, you are building the exact environment cancer cells need to thrive. You're literally feeding them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And these three processes don't just run in parallel. They amplify each other in a vicious cycle. Dying mitochondria produce more oxidative stress. That oxidative stress damages your stem cells. Fewer stem cells means less tissue repair. Less repair means more cells with damaged mitochondria accumulate. And your glucose-dependent metabolism is fueling it all, every single day. So here's the question I obsessed over for years. Is there a single intervention that interrupts all three processes at once? Something that targets mitochondrial function, stem cell viability, and cancer cell metabolism simultaneously? The answer, based on peer-reviewed research from some of the most respected institutions in the world, is yes. And it involves something you're probably already drinking every single morning. Before I reveal exactly what it is and how to use it, I want to hear from you. Drop your age and where you're watching from in the comments right now. I personally read every single comment, and I love seeing how far this community reaches. Whether you're 62 in Ohio or 78 in Australia, your story matters to me. Now let me tell you about Margaret. She's 71, retired school teacher from Wisconsin. She came to see me after gaining 30 pounds in 4 years, all of it around her midsection. Her energy was gone by noon. Her doctor told her it was just aging, told her to eat less and move more. She was eating 200 calories a day and walking 5 days a week. Nothing was working. Her fasting glucose was creeping up. Her triglycerides were through the roof. And she told me something I hear almost every week. Dr. Laura, I feel like my body is shutting down and nobody can tell me why. I put Margaret on the protocol I'm about to share with you. 8 weeks later, she'd lost 11 pounds of visceral fat. Her triglycerides dropped 28%. Her fasting insulin normalized. And she told me, with tears in her eyes, I feel like I got 10 years back. Margaret isn't special. She isn't genetically gifted. She made one specific change to her morning routine. The same change I'm about to give you. The ingredient is MCT oil, specifically a fraction called C8, also known as caprylic acid. And I need to explain exactly what this is and why it works, because understanding the science is what will keep you committed when week 2 rolls around and you haven't seen the full results that come in week 6. MCT stands for medium-chain triglyceride. All dietary fats are made of carbon chains. The fats in olive oil, butter, nuts, and meat have long chains, 14 to 24 carbon atoms. These fats take hours to digest. They travel through your lymphatic system. They easily end up stored as body fat. MCT oil is completely different. The carbon chains are shorter, just 6 to 12 atoms. That small structural difference changes everything. MCT oil bypasses your lymphatic system entirely. It goes straight to your liver through the portal vein. And in your liver, it's immediately converted into molecules called ketones, specifically one called beta-hydroxybutyrate, or BHB. Most people think ketones only happen during fasting or extreme low-carb diets. Wrong. MCT oil produces ketones regardless of what else you eat, even if you had pasta for dinner last night. And these ketones are the key to everything. Let me walk you through the 5 mechanisms. This is where the science gets extraordinary. Mechanism 1. Direct visceral fat burning. Researchers studying 49 adults over 16 weeks, published in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, compared people consuming 18 to 24 grams of MCT oil daily against a matched group consuming the same calories from olive oil. The MCT group lost significantly more weight, but what stood out was where the fat disappeared from. The MCT group showed a 2.9% greater reduction specifically in visceral abdominal fat, not the soft fat under your skin, the deadly fat wrapped around your liver, pancreas, and intestines, the fat that drives inflammation, insulin resistance, and cancer risk. When researchers measured cellular metabolism directly, the MCT group was burning fat at a rate 29% higher than the olive oil group. Their cells had shifted into fat-burning mode, measurable, quantifiable, real. Why? Because BHB activates nuclear receptors called PPAR-alpha. When these receptors switch on, they activate the genes responsible for breaking down fat for energy. Your cells receive a molecular instruction that says, "Burn fat now," and they obey. Mechanism 2. And this is the one that blew my mind when I first read the research. Mitochondrial rebuilding and stem cell reactivation. Remember, you've lost half your cellular power plants by 65. The medical consensus used to be that this was permanent, irreversible. Just accept it. That consensus is being shattered by new evidence. MCT oil activates a protein called PGC1 alpha, known as the master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. That's the scientific term for building new mitochondria. In a study published in PLOS One, participants supplementing with MCT oil showed 37% higher expression of PGC1 alpha in muscle tissue after just 4 weeks. They had 28% more mitochondria in those same muscle cells, and their measured exercise capacity, their ability to produce energy under physical demand, improved by 25%. Your cells are literally building new power plants. But here's where it gets truly remarkable. BHB, the ketone from MCT oil, directly influences stem cell behavior. Research from Harvard and the Salk Institute, published in Nature, demonstrated that BHB maintains stem cells in a protected resting state called quiescence. Think of it as keeping your repair crew fresh, healthy, and ready for action instead of burning them out prematurely. When BHB levels are low, as happens in seniors running primarily on glucose, stem cells exit this protected state too early. They become exhausted. They lose regenerative capacity. When BHB levels rise, as happens when you drink MCT coffee, stem cells are preserved. They live longer. They respond better when your body calls on them to repair tissue. This isn't theory. It's measured in human biological samples using flow cytometry and single-cell RNA sequencing. Let me tell you about Richard. He's 74, retired firefighter from Colorado. Richard came to me because he couldn't recover from anything anymore. A minor muscle strain took 6 weeks to heal. A cold knocked him out for a month. He said his body had forgotten how to fix itself. 3 months after starting the MCT coffee protocol, Richard told me his recovery time had been cut in half. A pulled shoulder muscle at the gym healed in 2 weeks. He described it as feeling like his body remembered how to repair itself again. That's not magic. That's stem cell preservation doing exactly what the research predicts. Mechanism 3, cancer cell starvation. And I want to explain this carefully because it's specific and it's important. In 1931, Otto Warburg received the Nobel Prize for discovering that cancer cells consume glucose at a rate 10 to 50 times higher than normal cells. They're addicted to sugar. Even when oxygen is available, they ferment glucose instead of burning it efficiently. For decades, doctors treated this as a curiosity. Now, researchers including Thomas Seyfried at Boston College and Dominic D'Agostino at the University of South Florida have demonstrated that this metabolic addiction is central to cancer survival. and it creates a specific vulnerability. Cancer cells have dysfunctional mitochondria. They cannot efficiently burn fat or ketones for energy. When you reduce glucose and increase ketones, you create an environment where your healthy cells thrive on the alternative fuel while cancer cells are starved. Research published in PLOS One demonstrated that a ketogenic approach combined with ketone elevation significantly reduced tumor growth and extended survival in experimental models. The mechanism was confirmed to be metabolic. I want to be precise. MCT oil does not cure cancer. But the science clearly establishes that elevating ketones through MCT oil creates a metabolic environment that is fundamentally hostile to cancer cell metabolism. People who maintain higher ketone levels show lower inflammatory markers that drive cancer progression, lower fasting insulin levels that correlate with reduced cancer risk, and better mitochondrial function supporting DNA repair. You're not just removing fuel from cancer cells, you're rebuilding the cellular architecture that prevents cancer from developing. Mechanism 4. Muscle preservation. This is critical after 60. Sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, affects 30% of people over 60 and 70% over 80. When you lose muscle, you lose the tissue that keeps your metabolism running. You lose the amino acid reservoir your immune system depends on. And muscle mass is one of the strongest predictors of survival in cancer patients, independent of cancer type or stage. Normally, when you eat fewer calories to lose fat, your body breaks down muscle alongside it. About 75% fat, 25% muscle. You get lighter but weaker. MCT oil changes this equation. In a study of 40 adults aged 55 to 75 with measurable muscle loss, published in Nutrition and Metabolism, participants consuming 14 grams of MCT oil daily while in a calorie deficit lost 3.2 kilograms of body fat and gained 0.8 kilograms of lean muscle. Simultaneously, the control group lost fat but also lost half a kilogram of muscle, confirmed by DEXA scans and muscle biopsies, showing 15% higher muscle protein synthesis in the MCT group. Gaining muscle while losing fat after 50. Most nutritional scientists say that's impossible. This study did it with 1 tablespoon of MCT oil per day. I think of my patient Dorothy. She's 68. She'd been losing grip strength for 3 years, couldn't open jars anymore, struggled with stairs. 4 months on the protocol with light resistance training, her grip strength improved by 40%. She called me laughing, saying she opened a pickle jar without asking anyone for help for the first time in 2 years. That's what muscle preservation looks like in real life. That's independence. Mechanism 5. The caffeine synergy. This explains why MCT oil in coffee specifically is more powerful than either one alone. Caffeine increases fat oxidation by approximately 29%. It opens the doors of your fat storage cells and tells them to release their contents. But here's the problem. If that released fat isn't burned immediately, it recirculates and gets stored again. MCT oil provides the metabolic demand to capture that released fat. The ketones create an incinerator waiting for the fuel caffeine mobilizes. Research measuring the combined effect found that caffeine alone increased fat burning by 29%. MCT-derived ketones increased it by about 25% independently. Combined, the increase was 51%, more than double what either produces alone. The synergy is multiplicative because the two mechanisms are complementary. One releases fuel, the other burns it. Together, they create a fat-burning environment that neither achieves on its own. Have you tried MCT oil before? Write yes or no in the comments. I'm genuinely curious, and I respond to every single one. Now here's the part everyone's been waiting for. The exact protocol, because the details matter. Get these wrong and you'll cancel out most of the benefits even if you're doing everything else right. First, the type. Not all MCT oils are the same. Most cheap MCT oils are primarily C12, lauric acid, which behaves more like regular fat and doesn't convert efficiently to ketones. You need C8 caprylic acid, or at minimum a C8 and C10 blend. Read the label. If lauric acid is listed as the main ingredient, put it back on the shelf. The difference in metabolic effect is enormous. Second, the dose. Start with 1 teaspoon, about 5 grams, on your first morning. Stay there for 3 to 4 days. If you have no digestive upset, increase to 1 tablespoon, about 14 grams. This is the clinical dose used in the studies. After another week, you can increase to 1.5 tablespoons if you tolerate it well. Do not exceed 30 grams per day. Do not start at a full tablespoon on day 1. MCT oil is processed entirely in your liver. Overwhelm it, and you'll experience cramping and digestive distress. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means you went too fast. Most people who quit MCT oil quit because they started too aggressively. Third, and this is the mistake I see most often, you must blend it. If you pour MCT oil into your coffee and stir with a spoon, the oil floats on top. You drink layers of pure oil. Absorption is poor. The taste is terrible. And the metabolic effect is blunted. Use a blender, immersion blender, or a powerful milk frother. Blend for 15 to 20 seconds until the mixture is uniform and creamy like a latte. This creates a stable emulsion where the oil droplets are broken into microscopic particles, allowing for smooth, complete absorption. Add 1 teaspoon of grass-fed butter or ghee if you can. It enhances satiety, improves texture, and extends ketone production. It also adds butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that supports gut lining integrity. Fourth, timing. Drink your MCT coffee within the first hour of waking before eating anything. Then delay your first meal by 2 to 4 hours. You don't need to force this. Most people find the combination of caffeine, MCT oil, and butter produces sustained energy and zero hunger that makes delaying food effortless. During this window, your body is burning stored fat, producing ketones, building new mitochondria, maintaining stem cell protection, and creating a glucose-poor environment hostile to cancer metabolism. This is your metabolic window. Protect it. Don't break it with food, especially carbohydrates, which will spike insulin and shut down ketone production immediately. Fifth, what to pair it with for maximum results. Maintain a modest calorie deficit, 300 to 500 calories below your maintenance level. MCT oil increases satiety, making this surprisingly easy. Count the MCT oil's calories, about 130 per tablespoon. Add resistance training 2 to 3 times per week. Bodyweight squats, resistance bands, or moderate weights with compound movements. The MCT coffee taken 60 to 90 minutes before exercise provides sustained energy without sugar crashes. Follow your workout with 20 to 30 grams of protein within 2 hours. This provides the raw materials for the muscle building that ketone-activated pathways are signaling for. Here's what to expect and when. Managing expectations is what separates people who succeed from people who quit too early. In the first 2 weeks, you'll notice increased morning energy and mental clarity before any body composition changes. Ketones are a preferred fuel for brain cells. Many people describe the mid-morning mental fog they attributed to aging simply vanishing. You may also notice reduced hunger. Weight may drop 1 to 2 pounds, mostly water initially. In weeks 3 through 8, measurable fat loss begins. Expect 1 to 2 pounds per week. Abdominal circumference decreases visibly. Energy keeps improving as mitochondrial biogenesis takes hold. If you're doing resistance training, strength either holds or improves despite the calorie deficit. That's the muscle preservation effect in action. By months 2 and 3, the mitochondrial rebuilding is fully expressed. This is when people describe feeling like they have the energy they had a decade ago. Triglycerides typically drop 15 to 30%. HDL cholesterol rises. Fasting insulin decreases. These are the same biomarkers that predict cancer risk, cardiovascular risk, and longevity. One important safety note: if you have active liver disease, consult your physician first. If you have type 1 diabetes, you need medical supervision because MCT-produced ketones combined with insulin deficiency can create ketoacidosis risk. If you manage type 2 diabetes with insulin or sulfonylureas, monitor your glucose closely because MCT oil improves insulin sensitivity and may require medication adjustment. If you're on warfarin, monitor your INR. For the vast majority of people over 60, MCT oil is one of the safest and most evidence-supported dietary interventions available. But always talk to your doctor before making major changes, especially if you take medications. Let me tell you one more story. Frank. He's 76. Retired mechanic from Michigan. Frank came to me convinced his best years were behind him. Belly fat he couldn't lose. Exhausted by 2 p.m. His doctor wanted to add a third medication. Frank started the MCT coffee protocol on a Monday morning. By Thursday, he noticed he wasn't reaching for a second cup of coffee at noon because he didn't need it. By week 3, his pants were looser. By week 8, he'd lost 14 pounds of abdominal fat, his triglycerides had dropped 31%, and his doctor postponed the third medication because his numbers had improved so dramatically. Frank told me, "Dr. Laura, I feel like I got my engine back." From a mechanic, I consider that the highest compliment. Here are the critical mistakes to avoid. First, don't buy cheap MCT oil loaded with C12 lauric acid. It won't work. Second, don't skip the blending. Stirring isn't blending. The absorption difference is massive. Third, don't start at a full tablespoon. You'll feel terrible. Blame the oil and quit. Fourth, don't eat breakfast immediately after. You need that 2 to 4 hour fasting window for the ketones to do their work. Fifth, don't expect overnight miracles. The energy boost comes fast. The fat loss takes 3 to 8 weeks. The deep cellular repair, the mitochondrial rebuilding, and stem cell preservation takes 2 to 3 months to fully manifest. Consistency at 70% effort beats perfection for 2 weeks followed by giving up. Here's what this really comes down to. After 60, your mitochondria are declining. Your stem cells are depleting. Your metabolism is feeding cancer cells instead of fighting them. These 3 processes are connected. They amplify each other. And they respond to the same intervention, elevating BHB through C8 MCT oil in your morning coffee. The evidence comes from randomized controlled trials at the top institutions in the world. The protocol costs less than $1 a day, and it starts working within days. Here's my challenge to you. Tomorrow morning, put 1 teaspoon of C8 MCT oil in your coffee. Blend it for 20 seconds. Drink it on an empty stomach. Delay breakfast by 2 hours. Do this every day for 30 days. Track your energy. Track your waistline. Track how you feel at 2 p.m. Take a photo of yourself today. Take another in 30 days. I promise you will see a difference. Within 3 days, the energy shift begins. Within 2 weeks, the mental clarity surprises you. Within a month, your clothes fit differently. Within 2 months, your doctor will want to know what you changed. Your cells are waiting for the signal to rebuild. Your stem cells are waiting to be protected. Your mitochondria are waiting for the blueprint to multiply. MCT oil in your morning coffee is that signal. 1 teaspoon, 1 cup, 1 habit. That's all it takes to start. Your body wants to heal. Give it what it needs. If this video helped you, hit that like button right now. It helps more seniors find this information, and it costs you nothing. Share this with someone you love who drinks coffee every morning because you might just change their life with 1 simple text. And subscribe to this channel so you never miss a video. Every week, I bring you the science your doctor doesn't have time to explain, in language that actually makes sense. Drop your biggest question about the protocol in the comments. Tell me your age and where you're watching from. I read and reply to every single one. Now it's going to be the most powerful part too. Start tomorrow. Your body will thank you. Your energy will thank you.